The big lie, the biggest lie of our national political debate is the renewable energy transition. Every day, the Federal Labor Party, the Greens, some of the left Liberals like Matt Keane, most of the media and a range of activists and academics, every day they tell you that Australia can run itself in a way that not one other modern industrialised economy ever has, and in a way that not a single other modern country is even trying to do. That is, run our power grid on renewable energy and storage alone. These people keep telling you this will deliver reliable power, and it can't. And they say it'll deliver cheaper power, and it isn't, and it won't. They tell us it's the most economically viable model, and it simply is not. It requires hundreds of billions of dollars of investment in generation and transmission infrastructure and the duplication of all generation with storage and backup generation. Most of these same people add climate lies to their story. They tell us the weather is getting worse, more fires, more floods, more droughts, when this is simply not true either. You only have to look at the weather records to see that. And they pretend that what we do will improve the climate. This also is utter nonsense, because whatever we're doing with our tiny share of global emissions, those global emissions continue to grow. So the public is being fed a load of nonsense. And the overarching lie is the ridiculous pretense that this renewable energy superpower nonsense can actually work. They talk a big game, they spend countless billions of our dollars, but it's all on a monumentally expensive and delusional experiment. This is a story of endless grand announcements. Remember Sun Cable? This was going to be a $35 billion project, taking solar energy from the deserts of the Northern Territory all the way through underwater cables to Singapore.
With ample room for future growth, a host of developing nations on its doorstep, and demand for clean energy only set to rise, the Sun Cable project sets Australia up to transition from the world's largest exporter of coal to a green energy exporting superpower.
Always the ridiculous renewable energy superpower line. Well, Sun Cable went into voluntary administration early last year, as you know, when billionaire Twiggy Forrest pulled out. And now it's been refloated by tech billionaire Mike Cannon-Brookes, and the project is going to try to send some electricity to Darwin, for starters. We'll see if they ever make Singapore. Now, speaking of Twiggy Forrest, he's been talking big on climate action for a long while, getting government subsidies for various projects and lots of praise from the leftist media as he's talked a big game on so-called green hydrogen.
Today at the National Press Club, businessman and philanthropist Andrew Twiggy Forrest, the mining magnate and chairman of Fortescue Metals Group, is now a firm advocate of green hydrogen and stronger action on climate change. Andrew Forrest with today's National Press Club address.
Ladies and gentlemen, green hydrogen is the real solution. Not the fake hydrogen, not blue or grey, the real stuff, green.
Yeah, this is the sort of stuff the media and the left love to hear, and the Albanese Labor government was fully on board too, with rhetoric and tax dollars.
We see investors queuing up to back solar and wind and the opportunities that are there in green hydrogen.
These opportunities are enormous. Our investment in green hydrogen, for example, is designed to unlock $50 billion worth of private sector investment.
We have the space to have large-scale solar and renewable energy to produce green hydrogen, which then can be used to produce green metals, green aluminium, green steel.
This budget invests in our renewable energy superpower ambitions, including $13.7 billion in production tax incentives for green hydrogen.
Green superpower bunkum. Yeah, Labor's been promising billions of dollars of subsidies for hydrogen, even though this is unproven technology, this is a massive gamble, and it's risky and even reckless to base our future energy needs on punts like this. But nothing will stop the green energy zealots. So Twiggy Forrest, in cahoots with former Liberal Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull, no less, ploughed on with some ambitious green hydrogen plans.
So I decided to be the first mover, and I put on the table a 15 million tonne target. I am sure that the materials and the will and the energy and the workforce is there to make it happen.
Well, he's not so sure anymore. Forest company Fortescue announced yesterday that its green hydrogen goals will not be met. The company is cutting 700 jobs and admitting it cannot get anywhere near its green hydrogen ambitions. Fortescue is completely shaking up and scaling back its energy plans. It's admitting failure and it's scrapping its green hydrogen goals. And what this means, of course, is that the Albanese Labor government's hydrogen goals will not be met either. Its clean energy targets are going to fall further behind. And the ridiculous lies we're being told daily about how this country is going to power itself on renewables and become a renewable energy superpower, well, all this nonsense is being exposed. But the Prime Minister remains a reliable energy denier.
We want to make sure that we deliver the clean energy that Australia needs, and that when coal-fired power stations close, as they've announced their closure, there isn't a gap in the energy security that Australia needs. That's why we need a real plan that's fully costed, that's being rolled out with the certainty being provided for investment.
Well, all evidence to the contrary. They say one thing, but we experience the opposite. None of them can say they weren't warned. Our national energy self-harm is increasingly hitting home. As I've said all along, it'll be the undoing of this government.